With the price of golf getting more and more out of hand in 2023, just what does spending double the amount of money on your golf clubs really get you? In today's video, I'm comparing two sets of golf clubs that both claim to be the ultimate for giving players iron, one of which comes out at around $1,500 and one of which comes out around $600 for iron right through to pitching wedge. Today we're going to test them for feel, for sound, for stunning good looks. I personally think both these clubs are fantastic looking, but we're also going to test them for performance, both out here in the golf course and on the simulator. See just what golf clubs you should potentially look at if you wanted a forgiving hollow-bodied players iron. We are of course talking about the PXG 0317T irons and the Takomo Iron 101T irons, both featuring T in the name and both featuring some pretty stunning good looks and premium components, which is a huge factor when deciding what golf clubs you get, what grip do you want, what shaft do you want, and then what head design do you want. You'll see both these lofts are exactly the same on the 9 irons and they are pretty similar lofted throughout the set. The technology in these clubs is pretty similar. We'll delve into that later on in this video. There's a tiny bit more technology, as you would imagine, in the PXG irons, but is that worth double bubble when it comes to the price? I've got 9 irons here, we're 145 yards out. Let's hit a bunch of shots into this green and test it for real world scenarios. What do they feel like? What do they sound like? What's the ground interaction like? And can I hit the green more times than not from this distance? That felt really nice. It's just fading out to the right. Unfortunately, that might miss the green to the right with the initial shot of the PXG. Lovely turf interaction, really nice divot. I have played a couple of rounds of golf with these and I do really enjoy them. The one critique I do have, as the heads get down into the lower irons, they start to look a little bit bigger, and I think if you are looking for a player's forgiving iron, that's not necessarily what you would want. Right, let's see if we can get this one a bit closer. Better, so much better. Love how that's peeling back towards the flag. That is a green in regulation. And let's go one more for good luck, because to be honest, I really enjoy hitting both these clubs. Both of them have that forged hollow body technology, so both of them are going to get you a little bit more distance than per se the MB or the CB equivalents, which both of these do have. See, that's the one that I'm probably more impressed with because I've not struck that as well. Much shallower divot, a bit more thin, but that one's a birdie opportunity on this hole. And what I really like about those 3 shots with the PXG is the consistency levels of, yes, those shot, but the initial shot that I hit that did go to the right, that one's still flag high, so it's still giving you a chance at saving par. Let's go same shots again with the Takomo equivalent and see if we can do any better. So for me, looking down at this, it looks a little bit more P770 like, more obvious that it is a hollow bodied iron, and actually looks just a touch more forgiving potentially. If you do want those kind of more forgiving looks, that one already is a little bit closer than any of the clubs that we did hit with the PXG. I think this is certainly going to do that. It's got a little bit more offset, bit of a thicker top line. We'll give that a clean actually. Huge divot, and I'm surprised that's actually got as far down as it has, but see if we can stick that on there again. Again, not the best strike. That one's fading off with the wind, similar to the first shot with the PXG. We found the green again though, so that's again 2 out of 2. And finally, can we hit 3 out of 3 on the green? Right, that felt gorgeous. All of a sudden I'm starting to feel like this is a lot easier to launch up in the air, and that one's gone a long way as well. One of the elements that you may prefer either on the Takomo or on the PXG is totally up to you what finish you like. You'll see the Takomo we have that kind of nice chrome shiny finish, and the PXG we have that more kind of brushed satin finish. Again, that is totally dependent on what you like the look of, but it's a nice option. You can also get the PXG in that blacked out finish, which I think looks gorgeous, but I don't know how it would last after a season's worth of golf. As you can see, one much better shot than the PXGs, but more of a varying distance, and distance isn't always the key, although that is lovely stopping power on these shots as well, something you do have to bear in mind. That one would worry me a little bit. Because distance isn't everything. I always think with irons, consistency is everything, and being able to hit a certain yardage more times than not when you hit the shot as you want to is what it's all about. So the fact that the PXGs are a little bit more expensive but feel less of a hollow bodied iron while still being a hollow bodied iron, for me is quite impressive. I've now got the 5 irons in my hand, and as you can see, they look quite similar, but the 5 iron in the Takomo 101T is a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit more friendly looking, and I think that's going to suit a lot of people. Let's hit some down this fairway now, and let's see just how consistent we can get with a few shots, because I also think with a hollow bodied iron, the last thing you want is that kind of real low spin flyer from the fairway or the tee, which is what you used to get with the TaylorMade P790s. They were the kind of OG hollow bodied iron. Then we had the 770s, which is more this kind of level, I feel like. Let's go Takomo 101T first this time, and I want to be able to pick the trajectory with this club. This is a 5 iron. I don't want it to go sky high every single time. You can see we do have the tungsten weight in the toe there to allow for a little bit more forgiveness, but I want to be able to manufacture a shot with this club, even though it is classed as a forgiving iron, a forgiving player's iron at that. So can I play a nice kind of low shot here? Really love the amount of offset on this club. It's there, it's present, but it's not overpowering. Just a nice, yeah. See, that feels like it's launched nice and low. The spin rate's made it go up in the air, and it's a really, really nice strike, nice turf interaction, everything that I would want from it. Now can we play the opposite, just a nice high bomber and get it up there and traveling. Yes. So that's doing everything I want it to do. It's going low, it's going high. Both those balls, I would imagine, are going to be a very similar distance, even though they had massively different windows of trajectory through the air, which is exactly what I want from this iron. Now, what impresses me massively about the PXG irons is how they're made to look so darn slim. I'm going to have to ask Bob Parsons how he slims things down, because I'm going to try and do it to myself. This is the only real angle that kind of gives you, yeah, it's quite a little bit of a bigger hollow bodied iron, but from everywhere else, obviously we've got that centered weighting on the back as well, just to kind of make sure it's precisionally fitted for you, which again is something which you can't really do with the cheaper option. And we have that 3x forged carbon, so it should in essence feel a bit softer. But I know from your comments, a lot of you guys aren't really bothered about feel. It's performance. Can I play that low shot again? This looks good. Again, very similar amount of offset actually to the 101T. Very similar shot, pulled it a little bit, but still nice and low, nice trajectory. I would imagine it's going to be a similar distance. These are again the same loft and shaft length, so any difference in performance isn't down to any trickery when it comes to loft jacking or shaft length manipulating. Right, can we hit a nice high PXG? Go for a sound. I'm looking forward to seeing how far down there they are. I pulled the PXG a little bit on the low one. Nice high 5 iron. Oh yeah, buttery soft. And I mean, the Takomos feel soft, but you can really tell that these have that 3x forged face, because you just can't really hear it off the bat. Would you pay double the amount of money for that? Only you can answer that. Now, I really like this. We have both of the Takomos here, so I said they should be the similar distance, and they are within a couple of yards. And then actually, dispersion wise, I missed this fairway to the left, but I was never hitting it in those trees. We have the PXG irons here, so this was the high one that we hit, the final ball that we hit, and actually the low one, which I did pull, is here. So again, I've hit that offline, and that is probably me, well, definitely down to me rather than the ball, but it is very nice to see that the front to back dispersions aren't altering even if I hit a pull shot or a high shot or a low shot. They're all going the similar distance, which for me is very, very nice, that you get that air of consistency, which we're going to talk about with the studio numbers in just a second. But there's a small matter of my favourite golf hole and a 7 iron to finish this test off. So guys, do me a favour, get in the comments below and let me know. I'll talk you through the numbers now actually while we're driving, because I have been in the studio testing these already. Very, very similar. As you can see, the 9 irons, the Takomo went a little bit further with a little bit lower spin, so you could say that's got a little bit less control on it. The launch very, very similar, and the dispersion was very, very similar as well. The 7 irons were very, very similar. I'm not going to say that one of them's gone further than the other there, because that's literally, we're really clutching at straws if we feel that. I hit loads of shots. I basically treated this as a practice session with a short iron, a mid iron and a long iron. And the 5 iron, the Takomo went quite a long way further as well. So is that because it's got more of a hollow bodied design? Is it because it's more of maybe the forgiveness iron than the player's iron? But realistically, I'm just pleased that we have that kind of consistency on both parts. Remember, I said distance isn't everything, and I do stand by that. I felt the buggy's about to tip over here, by the way, but which one would you have based on those numbers? And let's see how close we can get using 7-iron on this par 3. Now 7-iron wise, I find it very interesting how similar both these clubs look, especially from the bird's eye view. As you can see, the only real difference is that kind of whited out bottom groove on the PXG, and like I said, that difference in chrome and in brushed satin. Now the 7-iron is usually the club that you might test if you go on a demo day or you go and get fitted. Obviously the Takomos are direct to consumer, that's part of why the price is so cheap, so you don't really get to test them, whereas the PXG, the 7-iron is the club that people are like, oh, I'll try that and then go with it, similar to what I did when I tested the Vega Mizar Pro irons. Now for me, these performed so similarly inside, I'm really looking forward to hitting them down here and seeing just how close we can get, because one of the things I will say about both these irons is they both feel fantastic in their own right. I think the Takomos are surprisingly good at feel because of how much they cost, but the PXG are almost one of the best feeling clubs out there now for a hollow bodied performance iron. What they've put under this hood, which we discussed earlier, is remarkable, to say that you don't get those flyers, you don't get those massive low spin shots, but you still get all the performance of a hollow bodied player's forgiving iron. Right, so it is a little bit downwind here, and it's playing around the correct yardage for the shot, so I'm going to have to be a little bit clever in how I approach this. This is the only thing about maybe a hollow bodied iron that might catch you out when you are downwind and you want to take a bit off it. PXG first. You see, I've come off that massively. I've come off that massively. Right, that's better. Lower flight, fading into the green. We'll have a little bit of that. Can I control that trajectory more than anything? Get it bounding up to that flag. See, it's amazing how low I've been able to hit that. There's a Takomo in there at 10 feet, which I'm very happy about. Come on. Oh. Very similar to the second PXG, and all of a sudden when I've tried to kind of guide these around, just struggled a little bit to take it off there. So to answer the question right at the start of this video, what does spending twice as much money on your irons really get you? Now for me, I see both sides to this argument, especially after this test. For me, there's something so cool and quirky about the Takomos and the way they're going about things, but I also think those PXG irons are some of the best irons I've personally ever tested. I think the consistency rates, I think the dispersion rates, I think just how good they look and how clean they look for how forgiving they are it's brutal for the rest of the market, but then they are nearly £1,300, £1,400, so not everyone either can afford them or want to afford them and want to spend that money on them. So I'm going to sit in the corner of, if you could afford them and you can justify it and you're very serious about your golf, then I can sort of see why you'd go down that route, but I can also see why, if you want to go and splash £500, £600 on a brand new set of irons with premium components in, the Takomo might be a great way to go. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Smash that subscribe button if you've enjoyed it, and apart from that, I'll see you all at exactly the same time tomorrow. Goodbye.